So next I want to add my platform character, that would be the player, to my game. And there's two different things I want to be able to accomplish in this, is adding the platform character, giving the player ability to interact with the character, and I want it to be able to change what the animation state is based on what the player is doing. What that means is when the player character is idle or jumping or running and things like that. And since I'm about to add the player, I just want to go through here real quick, make a quick scene change, because I haven't added the ability to detect when a player dies. So I just want to put a safeguard there in my level for now. So to add the player character, I'm going to go to the plus over here, and I'm going to go right away to my platform, to my asset pack here, go to my character folder, and I'm just going to click on this green character to add it. But before I do, here I can see the drop down of the different animations, which are also called states in the game world. And this is a good combination of different states that I can utilize throughout my game development. So I'm going to add this to the scene. And there we go. Click close. Now, to help keep things organized, we're going to just rename this by clicking the three dots. I could also use the shortcut F2, and I'm just going to call this player. Doing this makes it so much easier to remember what we called things, especially when we start working with game logic using events. So here we already have our player, and we can add the instance to our scene. So I'm just going to click and drag to wherever I want the player to start. And so even if I went to preview the game right now, I know that it's not going to do anything because there is no code or events telling this player what to do. Now there's a few different ways I could go about this. One is using events, going to events, and then using a condition. So I could use an event like, and I just search for it, keep pressed, and let's just use a space bar. So when the player uses the space key, I can then add a bit of a force to the player. And this is just going to be a nice general, just to see if it works. It's hard to tell, but see, every time I press space bar, the player is now sinking to the ground. So that's not exactly what I want. However, this gives you the idea of how we want it. So this actually shows a few different things. One, we need it to be negative and a higher number. And if I was going to continue to use events, then I would need to take in consideration velocity and deceleration. But as I press spacebar, the player floats up into the air. Now to save some time, we could also look at another neat thing. So I'm going to delete this. That is available within GDevelop, and that will be using behaviors. So behaviors are a big time saver, as someone has already gone out of their way to help put a lot of this game logic together for you. So to do this, I can double click on the player, and scene objects are directly here in the scene. So if I double click on this, it will pull up my edit properties, and I can click through the different tabs to see what I have available here. And so I'm going to go to behaviors, add a behavior, and right away I see I have platform and platform character. So since we're using a platform game, this is what we're going to be using as well. The other thing to note is we do have other control movement behaviors that we can look at depending on other game styles they might be developed in the future. So it's worth taking a look. And we do have categories here. So for example, I could do movement, and that will filter out and show me anything that is been cataloged or categorized for helping with movement within a game. So we're going to do platform character. By clicking on it, it does add it. And here I can edit the different values. So like, how does gravity work? The max falling speed and so forth. And as I hover through it, it does give me little helper bits of information to help me as well. And I can see all the different other things to consider, like how to handle ladders or ledges and the walk speed and so forth. So for now, I'm going to leave it default and click apply. So just like that, if I click preview, my character now moves around the game. Now there's a few things that are quickly easy to tell. Is the characters one sliding everywhere? There's nothing else to kind of make this a little more interesting or interactive. And so this is where I'm going to move into working with the animation states on this player. So if I double click on the player again, and so when we add this game asset, we have different animations, which are also considered player states. What that means is there's a condition or an animation for when the player is idle, the animation sequence for walking, ducking, jumping, and hitting. I like these examples because it's things to think about if you're developing your own sprites for your own characters on the different states you want your character to be. And you could definitely add more animations to work with as well. So you're not limited to these. And just note that more animations will become more conditions to figure out and plan in your game. So keep that in mind. In my example today, I'm going to use behaviors because I want to take a bit of an easy road. And I'm going to add a behavior. And so for this, it's not movement, so I'm going to go back up to all categories, and I'm just going to go to animator. And again, I have a few options. I have Platform Character Animator, Top-Down Movement Animator, 3D Physics Animator, and so forth. So I'm going to use Platform Character Animator. And what's neat about this is it comes right away with things I could change to match my current character's animation states, and quick and easy settings to change there. So I'm looking at the names of it like climb, fall, idle, jump, and run. And so I want to line these up with what is currently labeled for my different character states. So I'm going to go to properties, and I can see a lot of these are lowercase, so like idle. And I'm just going to update this to match the same. And for run, it's actually walk. And again, I can always reference this going, okay, there's idle, there's walk, duck, jump, hit, climb, and I'm just making sure that it's matching the capitalizations. Fall, there really isn't an animation for this, but I could consider that by looking at the different animation sprites in this character and make a fall. So for that, I would just add an animation, label it the same, and I can add a sprite right from my project resources because as it brought in this character, brought in the different sprites. And so for fall, I'm just going to use the same jump animation. And now I can tell that to be fall. And there we go. So now let's test this. We're going to click apply and then click preview and see what it does. So when I jump, it switches to the jump animation. As I go left and right, it's going to the run animation, fall. There we go. And I don't really have anything to test the climbing, but I'm sure that it will work as well because that's in this behavior. And there we are. There is definitely different ways, different things I can do to adjust that. So for example, my walk is quite fast. So to adjust that, I'm going to go back to my character. And right here, we do have the ability to change the animation timing. So if I click preview here, I can see that it's running really fast. So I'm going to drop this down to like really slow frames per second to about 4. And this is all about how it feels to you. So is it 8? That actually looks not too bad. So I'm going to go with that and click OK. And now test it. Yeah, that looks about right. So what I'm looking at is as I'm moving, then the character, it's matching the speed. There we go. Now I have my platform character and I've adjusted the behaviors to help the player be able to interact with this level with my character, and means I can look at the next steps for my platform game.